good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar From Asset Management to Asset Excellence. I'm Shomik Ghosh, Assistant Editor at ETCIO, and I'm honored to moderate today's discussion. Now, asset management has been a core focus areas for both business and IT leaders such as yourselves. And why not? The biggest repercussions on organizations that lack a solid asset lifecycle management strategy are reduced efficiency and productivity, increased maintenance and repair costs, compliance, reduced asset lifespan, and inaccurate financial reporting. But most importantly, given the hyper-competitive environment businesses today operate in, it's inconceivable for a present-day organization to experience downtime and slow performance. In today's discussion, we'll be throwing light on how to reduce downtime, gain real-time visibility, improve operational efficiency, and of course, asset traceability. Joining me today is Piyush Parashar, the Territory Sales Manager, and Sumit Sandwani, the Principal Solution Consultant at Symphony AI. Let me welcome Piyush first. Piyush, thanks so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure hosting you.
Thank you, Shomik. Thank you so much for the introduction.
Sure. Now, Piyush, I'm sure our audience is well versed with, the importance of asset management. Could you, paint us a picture of what's the demand of the present day organization? How have you seen it evolve? And a little bit on what Symphony AI brings to the table. Over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Shomik. And what I'll do is I have few slides. Maybe I'll use them to drive the conversation. All right. So thanks everyone for joining, and thanks for sparing such a elaborate time, and that too on a Friday second half when most of us are already in a weekend mode or slipping into the weekend mode. But what I'll do is I'll just try to keep it really cool for you and not overboard on a Friday second half of the day. So, team, I'm Piyush, and as Shomik introduced around the agenda, uh, we are here, right, to talk about asset management, the efficiencies, and the total gain that it brings for a large enterprise. But before we go there, I would briefly like to introduce you to Symphony AI, right? What we do, who we are, and at what scale we are helping large enterprises, right? So, as an organization, we are striving and we are on a mission to build one of the leading enterprise AI SaaS company for the world, right? And when we say it, we mean it across the businesses. We impact retail through our products, retail as a business, which is again all sort of retail components, whether it's a store or solutions which is meeting the customers of a retail organization, or on the merchandising side, or something which is enabling the supply and the intelligence part of the retail business, right? We do touch with our solutions over there. Symphony AI also caters to the CPG industry, right? All the Unilevers and the Nestle's of the world. We are really proud to work with them very prominently on the shelf planning, the shelf intelligence, things around their supply chain intelligence. That's another core vertical for us. We are equally invested in financial crime and prevention, which is mostly a BFSI segment led solution. That is where we work extensively. Media is an equally potent vertical for us. Manufacturing, we have been able to service some of the leading manufacturing organizations, whether in heavy machinery, equipment, or an automobile manufacturing industry. And this is predominantly in the process optimization side of their business. While servicing all of this industry, there is one solution which is cutting across the industry, and which is, I would say, industry agnostic solution, which is the enterprise service management platform. Right? So within Symphony AI, a solution called Summit is the enterprise service management, the IT or an enterprise service management solution. Typically, that takes care of the IT assets in the enterprise services, and any workflow automation that supports these functions in the organization. Right. So that's what we do. We are headquartered in Palo Alto, but a very strong base in this part of the country. That's where a lot of our product development, global product support happens out of India as well. Just wanted to brief you about it. And while delivering one of these services for much more than a decade now, we have gained a lot of know-how, a lot of expectations from some of the largest logos in the industry, right? We do not want to call ourselves that we are only potent to service a BFSI or only a manufacturing or only a retail or a CPG customer, right? Uh, we are proud enough to be servicing diligently through our Summit solution, the enterprise service management solution, across the industry, uh, across the size and scale also, and also from at the different touch points of their journey, right? While some of our customers have been really early adopters of the solutions dated almost a decade back, while there are certain large enterprise customers who are transitioning from an already investment mechanism to a summit level of solution in the recent past. Right? So very proud to say that we are servicing some of the most cutting edge businesses in the world. And while delivering all of these services, we have also been fortunate enough to get recognized by some of the leading, uh, insights and leading platforms. So, if I would just name a one, I mean, Gartner Peer Insight Review Summit AI platform, Symphony AI Summit platform is rated the highest rated. I mean, with some, a platform with more than 500 ratings, we rank 4.6, right? And which is actually fabulous for us and something we have been achieving consecutively for last 4 years and pretty sure to clock the same sort of ratings this year as well, right? This talks about our pedigree. This definitely helps us establish a credible source of view and thought process in the business, right? Before I transition into asset life cycle and that pertinent topic for today, I would like to take a quick poll over here, right? Maybe if Shavik can help us on this, uh, would like I would like to know how much of us, how many of us are familiar with this word called asset life cycle management.
Sure. So, audience, we've got the first poll for you. We just want to gauge, first take a quick dip check on what's your understanding of asset lifecycle management. So we've got about 10 or 12 seconds for you to take the poll. So it's pretty similar. It's basically, your understanding of it at this point in time. Well, I mean, it's certainly not an alien concept, but then it'd be really interesting to know what people are going to be talking about, whether it's going to be B, C, or D. All right. I think we can wind up with that poll. Okay. Can we have the poll results displayed, please? All right. Okay. So B is somewhat familiar, but lack details. Only 16% have said that they have experience in implementing asset lifecycle management. Piyush, your thoughts on this? Is it something of a surprise or was it in line with what you expected?
I was expecting this because what I see is that 16% people who have implemented PLCM, I do have certain content for them as well because what additional they should expect from it. But fortunately, what we have done is somewhere I was expecting, that a lot of audience may need a double click on the concept, and
Okay.
we'll start from there, right? So no hesitation in starting from how do we foresee and how do we envisage asset lifecycle management, and that's where I'll start. So thanks for that quick analysis of the poll as well. Sorry.
Sure, Piyush. Go ahead, please. And audience members, I would just want to let you know that we are going to have a very interactive session. We've got a couple of more polls for you. So, do participate in these polls and feel free to share your audience Q&As, since many of you may not be completely well versed with the intrinsics of asset lifecycle management. Use the Q&A box, post your questions, and I'll have Piyush and Sumit answer them for you. Go ahead, please.
So everyone, what asset management and asset lifecycle management typically would lead us to think about is more or less on an asset ledger, right? A record of all the assets that an enterprise has procured and is in current life cycle. I think it's a no-brainer to think in that line, and it's also an accurate way to think that an asset ledger should service what an asset management is expected to do, right? At least to keep that's the basic of what is expected from it to do, right? But definitely, right, from a Symphony AI, from a Summit standpoint, uh, large enterprises demand more from us, and they expect the platform to do much more than just being a bookkeeping record for all the enterprise assets, right? They're expecting this tool to help them drive efficiency in the organization. They expect the tool itself to, give us excellent visibility in all the ecosystem, in the complete asset ecosystem that they carry, uh, whether it's a hardware, or it's software, or it's a non-IT, it's a engineering asset, whichever class of assets that may be, they need a visibility of complete log. They also expect the same platform to help them optimize the cost, right? And which I'll deal in much detail in my subsequent points. But just to touch upon, uh, leaders wants the platform to nudge them, uh, whether are they going overutilized, are they going underutilized, are assets which should not have been procured or should have had a deferred line of procurement so as to enable their ready cash in hand, right? While all these concepts are being demanded from us, fortunately, we have been able to develop quickly on that and being servicing customers around these tenants, right? So this is a little more expectations from a mature asset management solution, right? So if I would have to say today, which is the top ask from a large enterprise CIO, CTO from us, is that they are expecting that what a static asset management tool was doing until now or until recent past, they want to move from a reactive notion to a predictive asset management framework, right? It means very simple, right? While they were looking at the data, they were doing an analysis, they were doing their own filtration around asset and inferring upon their action, they now expect tool to do this. And definitely, it's 2023, and with all the AI and Gen AI and the conversational platform experiences that enterprises are getting, individually all of us are getting, I think this is a very legitimate demand that can the tool itself identify and help on operational efficiency? Can the tool help us detect or report or analyze the scenarios of loss and theft of the asset, right? Can the tool itself be uh, more accurate enough on the records? Can it help us take the business decision? Can it help us defer the buying decision? Can it help us prepone the buying decision? Can the tool help us identify that, hey, which is the set of assets that we can skip at least for a quarter or 2 quarters, right, in ordering more or asking for a fulfillment, right? So these are the actually actionable questions that the leaders are expecting from the tool to organically help them in this entire journey, right? So how do we do it, right? Instead of giving them a static tool which is acting on only acting once it receives a response from the operations operator, I think Summit AI has been able to bring a solid service here to large enterprise customers. And our complete approach here is to enable the leaders with platform or a dashboard that actually helps a very solid record keeping, is able to present all the inventory or the projected inventory of the assets or the depleting inventory of the asset on a single panel. The product itself is easy to use. If they want to ask, if they have more queries, if they have delta questions from the asset management platform, they are able to query and get those answers. Right? The product itself is helping them to track the performance of their asset, whether it's a non-IT asset or an IT asset, or it's a complete machinery, right? Can that be tracked at a performance level? Can we have the number of AMC claims being going or being requested on this? So whether the asset is in the life cycle after the procurement until the asset is retired, right? I think all the levers that a typical procurement function to the usage function or the department which has bought the asset and is consuming the asset in the life cycle, all the three persona are able to get the right information, accurate information, measure on the parameters for which the product has been or the asset has been procured. I think that's a solid service done to the entire enterprise, right? And I think that's how we have identified the levers on which the product is designed from a Symphony AI standpoint, right? So while the product is in a solid usage by a lot of our customers, what we have been able to service them so far, when we spoke to some of our large enterprise customers, and again, we did not restrict ourselves focusing on one industry that, hey, can we just go and interview 5 of our manufacturing customers? No. What we have done is across the set of customers that we have, what we have been able to identify that somewhere we have been able to help them increase the maintenance productivity using our solution, right? So it is before and after they adopted to our solution, they have reported at least or north of 20% of increase in their overall maintenance productivity. We have helped them reduce their inventory cost. And this is again coming from two levers primarily, right? They are optimizing the stock inventory better. They are also identifying any damages or leakages in the inventory phase or the life cycle of the asset or the procured device or hardware. And subsequently, we have also been able to help them decrease the overall maintenance and repair cost, right, while in inventory, right? Because that's a real hidden, but at an inventory level, when assets or procured inventory is not getting utilized, that's the first step where the depreciation starts, right? Possibly after 6 months of shelf, possibly you may not be able to use it. Possibly it would have incurred certain damage. It has crossed the regulations, or the industry in which you're operating has changed certain regulations. So there are a lot of sleepages. There are a lot of leakage in this phase of asset. And that is where the product is Summit AI as a platform on an asset management lifecycle is we are able to tell our enterprise customers that, hey, this is a point where you need to further double click and define the stages. And fortunately, we have been able to help them decrease the overall maintenance and repair cost right at the inventory stage as well, right? So while this is more of what we have been able to do, I would just like to spend a minute or two on how do we approach and what what does the product encompasses inside it, right? So how do we see any asset lifecycle management as a solution is the solution helping me procure the asset, right? Am I placing the requisition on time? Am I knowing who to place the requisitions with? Am I adhering to all the requisition procurement process of my organization, right? So that's where the life cycle starts, right? So once the requisitions are placed, the procurement process is completed. Are we able to? Is the product helping me in take inward all the procured assets? Am I documented it? Is it auto detected, or is the tool asking me, I don't want to do an auto detection? Can the tool also give me a flexibility to do certain manual insert, manual uploads of a lot of inventory procured, right? So these are stages. Subsequently, moving into stage where the discovery of certain asset happens, then the asset gets into the actual service life, which is basically getting deployed on a shop floor or getting deployed if it's a laptop, maybe getting assigned to an employee called Piyush, right? So that's where the life cycle happens. And subsequently, there are stages in this usage, whether it demands a repair, it demands a replacement, it demands an AMC claim, or it demands an upgradation, right? Or it demands maybe back to the inventory, the usage has been completed. Is the asset coming back and being identified more as an available asset in the organization in as part of the inventory? Then getting reassigned. Between assignment and reassignment, can the device be correctly timed for the maintenance, right? So these are the life cycle events, and having a nuanced view in this entire life cycle helps on all the points that I discussed before, right? The efficiency, the decrease in overall spend on maintenance of the asset, right? that is how the product is designed. So until the life cycle reaches towards the end of life, or you're discarding the particular asset outside of your enterprise, the tool will help you map, automate, have correct alerts, have the correct view of all the stages and all the data points right from a single dashboard, right? So that's what Summit AI Asset Lifecycle Management Platform brings for any of our enterprise customer over here. I think I've dealt some of the points right. Certain, edge cases where customers say that, hey, can we also have edge features of, maybe a barcode scanner? I just want to track, I just want to reconcile my regulatory, because my business has a regulations where I need to do a quarterly audits, right? Do I get all the data for submitting my quarterly audits or not, or being compliant to the regulations that are governing my business, right? So that is where, again, the solid BI and analytical capabilities inside the tool, the tool is mature enough to understand these regulations, these demands of the large enterprises, and it has been able to service our customers with the right data points, right reports, right nudge at the correct life cycle time, right? So something we are very confident of, that any complex or a large enterprise which has a use case of a large asset management and asset lifecycle use cases, and they are an asset intensive industry, I think it's a solid product for those scale of enterprise, right? While I don't want to touch a lot of integrations, I mean, there's no boundary to it, but more often this product goes and integrates with the already invested ERP, right? I mean, let's take an example of an SAP ERP or the Ariba plus the ERP component of SAP Farm, right? Summit AI asset management platform is capable enough to sit at the right Lego block inside the ecosystem of a large enterprise, right? Integrate or coexist with the procurement mechanism already defined in your Ariba, to right set of identification inside Summit AI platform of the asset, and then managing subsequent stages, whether you want to check in or check out the asset from a particular from a location. You want to generate a gate pass, you have to define a process for gate pass. You want a process for asset movement from location A to B or department A to B, or you want to do some allocation, deallocation, or assign, reassignment with multi-stage approval, right? So these are certain, again, the processes of asset management which can reside as a brain within Summit AI platform, and definitely coexist with already invested technology of large enterprises. We do understand, we do see this in very frequent occurrence, and we have been able to service some of our largest customers who are already invested with ERP platforms like of an SAP or an Oracle, with Delta features, additional edge over the traditional asset management or asset lifecycle platform, right? So while I just wanted to keep it simple and not make it too complex, but definitely as an IT leader, or who are currently joining this platform, I think the solid benefits that you should expect after using an asset lifecycle, or any large enterprise leader, CIO or CTO, they should expect that the product and asset lifecycle product should help them in the preventive maintenance. It should speed up their audit and regulatory processes. It should be able to reduce their overall operating cost. It should be able to have a correct ledger, a more accurate information, and help them do a cost optimization while in the complete asset life cycle, from an operational standpoint and also from a procurement standpoint. I think if these benefits are delivered, it's a good service done from an asset life cycle product, right? So what I'll do is, while I've tried to just glance over the asset lifecycle topic and keep it little simple here. My colleague and a solution leader in the region, Sumit, is going to show the similar points what I've spoken about live on the demo. So I'll take a pause and hand it over to Sumit, my colleague, And maybe Shomik, if you want to take it over and then pass it to Sumit. So thank you everyone for the time.
Sure, sure. Before I get, before I invite Sumit to join us, we've got a quick poll question for you guys. But before that, we've got a couple of questions, and we'll take those questions immediately after the poll. So, our next poll question that we have: do you currently face any of the following challenges with managing your assets? So we've got all of these, all of this information here, and we are viewing the results in real time. And let me see if this also goes according to what you've expected, Piyush. While we are having this poll, let me quickly, put up this question to you. Now, you highlighted all of these benefits here. How quickly do you think, organizations can start seeing tangible benefits after implementing an ACLM solution, such as Symphony Summit AI?
Right. So Shomik, we have seen large enterprises seeing benefit right from the onset.
Okay.
But we have also seen big benefits, big efficiencies kicking in from 3 to 6 months, right? That's where the exact engine fire, right? But the early benefits of having accurate information, correct information, auditability, managing the regulations, these are like low-hanging fruits which any enterprise customers can reap right after the go live, right? So that's what we have been able to observe.
Understood. All right. We can end the poll at this point. I think we've got enough results. All right. So let's keep these poll results on the screen while we discuss it. 36% of our audience members, they feel that all of these issues are prevalent when it comes to tracking and locating assets. And also an equal number of them say, they face difficulties in tracking and locating assets. So your views about this, Piyush, is this an example of a poor ACLM strategy, and what's the workaround?
I think this is a very interesting poll outcome to infer that most of the products are under delivering what they commit. Right? That's what I think, because these are expected outcomes of a solid ALM tool, right? And when we see this, that it's an equal proportion, more or less an equal proportion of problem across all the challenge points, we see the products under delivering, and definitely very exciting. This gives us more excitement to go aggressive and solve for it, right? And fortunately, we have been able to address all of it. So good outcome. I mean, I'm excited to see this outcome actually.
Understood. All right. We've also got a couple of audience questions coming in. One of them has asked you, is this ALCM solution enabled with NIME analytics? Now, you've talked about being able to integrate with existing solutions, and of course we've seen a lot of attraction of open source solutions, with NIME being one of the things. So is the product able to deliver this?
Okay, so I'll give a generic answer so that not just NIME, the answer is spread across. Summit solution exposes APIs, REST APIs, and it is equally capable to accept open APIs, right? And REST API, right? So that answers a lot of questions. It doesn't matter whether you're using a Power BI or a Qlik or a Tableau or any other analytics platform. Things can be done, it can be integrated. But yeah, a more nuanced use case will come up once we look at the use case. But at a prima facie, yes, absolutely doable. No hesitation in saying here.
All right, thanks. I'll also take another question that we have from Razlar Aziz. The last question was by Mukesh G. Thank you for sharing that with us, Mukesh. Razlar here asks us, what about the proactive preventive maintenance checklist and information with the help of AI? So could you tell us a little bit about, proactive preventive maintenance and what's the capability here?
Absolutely. So while Sumit will address the other use cases, what I'll say, let me take a very simple example of an IT asset, which I think most of us, I think we are more than 100 of us who are joining here. I think all of us are connected through a mobile device, right? Or maybe a laptop, right? Let's take an example of this. A predictive maintenance and a predictive, outcome of managing this IT asset inside a platform is very simple, right? am I capable enough to detect the threats happening around this device, right? Am I able to detect that, hey, any of my enterprise user is not getting affected by an unwarranted software which is not authorized to be utilized in the organization, right? Instead of doing, losing data, instead of getting into a situation of a panic and resolve and then act upon it, can't there be an auto detection of any such anomalies, right? The answer to such thing is yes, absolutely yes, right? So as soon as I switch the window, instead of reacting, if I automatically gets the aberrations and do an automation to act on it and get that particular software deleted, I think that's a solid service moving from a reactive to an a predictive sort of maintenance of an ITS, right? Definitely, like I took an example of IT asset, all assets can be dealt in a similar process, and something that Sumit will definitely touch upon in his slide.
Sure. Well, with that, let me take the opportunity to invite Sumit to join us on this webinar. We have Sumit Sidhwani. He's the Principal Solution Consultant at Symphony Summit AI. Sumit, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the webinar.
So
Hi.
good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting us.
Sure. Now, Sumit, we see a lot of curiosity among our audience when it comes to asset lifecycle management. We've got quite a few good questions here, and a few questions that I have in store for you. So I'm sure you're going to take those as we go along. So over to you. Tell us a little bit about the product and what you guys can do.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll share my screen and I'll showcase you whatever Piyush has said that can be easily done from the solution itself. So what Piyush was talking about, he was talking from the product perspective. Now I'll talk about how we can do those things and how easily we can do those things. So Summit from Symphony AI is a product which is a no-code and a low-code platform wherein you can do all the things which are possible are done from the GUI itself. So you can do all the configurations, you can create new categories, you can create new fields, everything can be done from the GUI itself, and then showcase you how easily it can be done. So as far as assets are concerned, so what are those assets which we need to manage? So the complete asset management is a solution that helps you into organizations to manage the cost and mitigate the risk, compliance, and involve and improve the ROI with an operational approach and increase the efficiency to manage the IT assets across the entire life cycle, from planning to requisition to allocation to retirement and to disposal. And the complete solution is multi-tenant in nature, so you can discover the asset. So there are multiple ways in which we can bring the assets into the system, which is point number one. So how the asset management tool manages these assets. So the assets which are there in the system, it can be an IT asset, it can be a non-IT asset, it can be an industrial asset, it can be consumable, it can be accessory, it can be software. There can be multiple different type of assets which can be there in the industry. So you can bring those assets in multiple ways. One, we can bring it based on the discovery. So we have multiple ways in which you can discover the asset. Just a second, I guess this is to be taken up. Okay, so I'll toggle the screen accordingly. So we can do the discovery of assets. So we have agent-based discovery. So we can deploy agents on your IT devices. We can discover the assets based on their SNMP protocol, WM, SSH, and Telnet. We can also integrate with any other solution. So as Piyush was talking about REST API integration, so Summit exposes REST APIs. We can either consume the REST APIs or we can expose our REST APIs so other tools can consume the REST APIs and push and pull the data into the system. So you can bring the assets from any other solution. So fourth is you can have import. So we have a bulk import into the system using which you can easily create your list in the system. So we have an import section wherein you can utilize your features and you can bring the asset into the system. So we have tenants. So all the complete solution is multi-tenant in nature. So you can have different departments within the organization, maybe IT, who is talking about your IT devices like laptop, desktop, data center devices. Then there is an admin who is talking about your non-IT devices. facilities who are talking about their type of devices. So you can have all those departments created, and then you can bring the assets either in form of fixed asset, which are expensive in nature, which are part of your balance sheet, or which you are not going to dispose of in near future. Then you can also have your non-IT assets in similar nature, for which you want to manage the complete life cycle. And then you can either import in form of add all the assets or update the asset information. So we have Excel, based on which you can add, you can select the category, and then based on that, the Excel template will come up. You can download, update the information, add or update the information into the system just on a click of button. So this is from the bringing the asset into the system. Now, when the asset is brought into the system, what will you do? So we have an asset inventory wherein we have all different type of assets. So once you go there, you will be able to view all the asset categories. You can have multiple different categories. So you can have your fax machines, you can have storage racks, you can have your workstations. From IT perspective, you can have your desktop, laptop, access points, routers, switches, any number of devices. And all this will, once we bring the assets into the system, will be allocated to a store. Now, what is a store? It is nothing but a physical or a virtual store, which you can also name it as a location. So you might have, from industrial perspective, you will have multiple plants wherein you are producing your products. So there will be a lot of assets which are there. So you can bring all those assets to a store, which is that particular location. And then from there, you can allocate it to users or to consumers or to contractual users or to multiple user in case of shared devices. So you can do all allocation, deallocation, so that it moves into the allocated state. And if the assets are deactivated and deallocated and they are not in use, so you can move it into inactive state as well if they are not good for use. Then if you have sent the devices for repair, they will move into in repair. We have complete workflow processes already built into the system. You just need to configure for the approval processes, and the things will move into tracking of each and every step will be there along with approval. And for all kind of movements, there will be gate passes which can also be generated. So I'll showcase you one of the asset wherein you can do the movement as well. So when the asset is in stock, what are the life cycle processes which are there? So you can see there are assets. So you can have your locations. So how you can create your locations? You can create your locations in a tree structure. So you can have your floors, you can have your plants, and all those things can also be created. And once you configure those, you can see all the assets which are there. Then you can do the allocation. So as I said, allocation can be done to a single user, to multiple user in case of shared devices, to a contractual user, to a department, to a location. You can also do bulk allocation. If you have, say, for example, 100 assets which are to be moved from one location to another, you can do bulk allocation as well. Then you can also send it for repair. Say, for example, your machine has stopped working and it needs a repair, you can do that. If you are sending it for repair, then there will be a 2 repair process wherein you can add the name of vendor, and then based on that your movement approval will be initiated, which the store manager can approve. And then once the asset is brought back from repair, there will be a process which will capture all the information, what changes have been done, what is the asset repaired, not repaired, or replacement has been there, if the serial number has been changed based on the motherboard replacement of the device, or a machinery, the chipset has been changed, or battery replacement is done, how much cost has been involved, is the product under warranty or not after repair. So you can enter all those things and you can get your cost analysis as well. And then you can do a store to store movement, which is nothing but a location to location movement, wherein again there will be a movement ID which will be created, which will have up to 10 level of approvals. And once all the approvals are done, it will move into transit. And once the receiver receives it, then the movement approval will complete and the asset will be brought into that particular location. You can also generate your QR codes. So you can do the asset tagging using the same solution. Only thing is you need to configure the QR codes, what you want to view here. You can have the serial number, you can have the location, you can have the phone number, so that once a person sees, he can use Summit mobile app to scan the QR code and do the physical verification as well. We have use cases within the industry where a customer is using this and reduce their effort of verification of assets from 4 months to 15 days time. So this is such a utilizing thing which can improve your performance within the organization. Then you can deactivate your asset. Once you are deactivating, you can have reasons for deactivation, wherein if the asset is stolen, if the asset is end of life, e-waste, scrap, and if you have sold it, whom you have sold it. And then again, once the process is complete, you again have an approval process for the deactivation as well. So we have multiple approval processes here. Any kind of movement, any kind of reconciliation. So any change, add, update, anything, there will be a maker checker approval which will also be there. So the person who is changing the asset will be a maker, which can be an analyst. And then the approver, who will be the checker, can be an admin or a store manager or a location manager. So we can have those approvals. So all the changes which are done are tracked by the people within the organization. Now these are few life cycle processes. Now if you go back to the asset and move into the allocated asset, there will be a different set of life cycle processes which will be there. Like here you saw allocated, now you will see reallocation. Similar to allocation, like the asset is moved from one place to another, or a person is moved from one place, you can reallocate the asset. You can deallocate the asset. Say, for example, if a person is off-boarded or the person has left the organization or the asset has been stolen, you can deallocate that asset from that particular person. And then again, the process approval process can be there. Then deallocation and deactivation can be there. Similarly, floor movement can be there. And we also have a process, as I said, physical verification. We also have digital reconciliation. So once you have allocated an asset to me, so I can accept it on behalf of the organization digitally, rather than being on the HO, going and signing and accepting it. We can do a digital acceptance and reconciliation. And after every 6 months, you can initiate that process. You can schedule it so that after every 6 months, it is automatically scheduled and the person gets a notification and he accepts it as a digital reconciliation. Along with the allocation, he can also confirm the configuration and the location where the asset has been allocated. And if there are changes, he can update. And on top of it, you can have your manager approval as well. So once this is done, how the asset will look like and what all the life cycle processes, how that can be captured, that can easily be mapped here. So here you can see that we have the asset based on the life cycle, which store the asset was part of, when it was added, who the asset is allocated to, what is the status of the asset. There can be multiple fields which you can create using our form builder utility. It can be a text box, drop down, or a dependency field. All those can be there. You can have your purchase request information pulled it using REST APIs from your ERP solution, so that your warranty, purchase date, everything can also be pushed in. And accordingly, you can set notifications also for your AMC, warranty, maintenance, and all those can also be factored into the system automatically. And once the dates are there, so you can have your notifications configured 30 days, 60 days, 90 days before the contracts are expiring, which will be a value add, wherein from day-to-day operations, you will get notifications for those things. Then in terms of asset history, you will be able to view whom this asset was first allocated, when it was reallocated, deallocated, all that information will be there. Any kind of movement, there will be a movement scenario, which I said. So you can have your movement scenarios configured, which will give you the details of what all movements have happened, who has approved it, and all that. When there is a repair scenario, you can see what was the cost which you have spent, what is the product under warranty or not. All that information will also be captured. From audit perspective, each and every change, either approval, field change, value change, everything will be kept on track here. So you can see what happened, when it happened, and what was the update, who did that, and when it was done. Then under relationship, you can view all the tickets which are created to those related to assets and what contract this asset is part of. So you can easily keep a track of all these informations. So I would like to also touch upon the preventive maintenance question which was asked to us. So I'll open that also.
Sure.
So when a preventive maintenance, we can schedule a preventive maintenance scenario in the system. We can also have an auto alert for the preventive maintenance. We can define that, and based on a scheduler, the service request can be created, allocated to the required team. Based on that, not only that one particular ticket, the related work orders can also be done. What all activities are to be done based on that preventive maintenance by different team members as part of their activity. We can also have a checklist which can be mapped to it so that all the activities are completely done or not, and then we can map that with the ticket as well. Other than this, you can also schedule it as a recurring job, which I said. So you can do that configuration within the system wherein you can create your recurring SRs, and once you are doing it, you can define when it should happen. Once in a month, once in 3 months, every 15 days, you can define, and what all fields should be there on the ticket, what, and then post that you can also define the workflow which can happen for the approvals and to check the status. Everything can be configured within the system, and that too easily. Now, when we are talking about contracts, you can have your contract management, and the movements can also be mapped here. So in terms of contract, you can have your contracts wherein you can define who is responsible for that particular contract, what is what is part of that, what is the configuration for that, who is responsible for that particular contract, who is the reseller, who is the vendor, whom you want to notify, when you want to notify, what are the agreements, what are the references. You can also map your PO, you can have the price list, you can have the agreements mapped. Under relationship, you can map all the CI, all the assets which are part of that particular contract. So whenever the renewal comes, you can just get a notification that this is the contract which has to be renewed, these are the specs. You can consult and you can renew the things, and then update into the system with the new contract date information as well. So everything can be done and mapped within the system easily. And once everything is done, we can also have, like I said, there can be approvals which can be configured. So you can have your movement IDs, you can have multiple level of approvals, you can approve or reject the approvals. Like here, if I approve, it will, and then I can also generate my gate pass. So everything will be within the single solution. Your generation of QR code, which is tagging of asset, tracking of asset with the approvals, and then you will get the reports as well along with your transaction history where this asset was, with the complete end-to-end life cycle, which can easily help you in managing everything. Then you can also set your store thresholds, which is very important from the perspective, wherein you can set which store has how much stuff. And based on that, if your capacity planning is there, or you are planning for future buying of products, so you can get notification that if there is a limit which crosses, then I have to check what has to be done. So you can apply it on store, that which asset is there in that particular store, what is the minimum value, what is the maximum value, when do you want the notification on. You can define those things. Then you can also have your asset alert configurations which can be configured, wherein you can see if you're, like I said, contracts. So if your contracts are expiring 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you can define those, whom the notification should be sent, when those notifications should be sent. You can also have your custom notifications which can be configured. Again, I will take an example of your preventive maintenance. You can define that. You can define for your AMC, you can define for your contracts, you can define for your licenses as well. So you can define your variances and everything. You can just notify team members with the help of the different type of alerts within the system, which are again configured easily from the tool itself. Then we have multiple dashboards and reports as well, which can help you in your analysis. Like you have your asset dashboard. I'll showcase you an asset dashboard. So this is one of the dashboard wherein you can see all the category wise summary. So how many assets which you are having, and you can also, all the reports and dashboards which are available are drilled down in nature. So you can easily get your numbers, you can drill down, you can just click on it and you will see the details of that particular thing. You can have this category wise, you can have the store wise, which I said as the location wise asset detail. That can also be done. You can have your aging wise summary wherein you can see which kind of categories are there, how much old number of devices are there in which year category. You can have easily map those things and you can capture those details. Then you can have your location wise details wherein each location, which location has how much data within your system. So you can drill down the reports. Say for example, Poland, how many devices are there. So it will showcase you and you can drill down to the last mile, Then you have your report related to your transaction history. So what all transaction have happened? So how many assets are allocated? So this is based on your date. You can have, say, for example, within 1 month, within daily, weekly. So you can have a custom rate. So what has happened on that particular day? So you can view those reports. How many assets are allocated today? Whom they are allocated? Where they, in which location they have been allocated? New assets. How many new assets have been brought in? How many assets have been deactivated, sent for repair, any kind of movement, deallocated, all the life cycle. Based on all the life cycle, you will have all the entries updated here in the system in form of reports. Then you can have your report related to your what you say your warranty report, which will again help you in compliances for your warranty leakages, wherein you can see which all assets are there, how many assets are there where warranty is not defined in the system, where warranty is already expired and about to expire. So you can have those values. Then you can also have a report wherein you can see your depreciation values. So in our system, you can define the depreciation formulas. We have a few formulas which are there configured in the system, like down value and straight line methods. And you can also have your custom formulas which you can define in the system to calculate the depreciation values. And then once you configure those, you have the cost defined on the asset, you can easily calculate your depreciation reports in the system. Then you can also give access to your end users, how they can view what all assets they have allocated, and then they can either accept the asset on their behalf, they can reject the asset, they can return the asset, and they can also do the digital reconciliation of those assets. And there are multiple more features which can be configured from the front end. Like I said, approvals can be there. You can have your import, you can have your returns, you can have your you can do what you say, notifications can be configured based on your asset attributes. Notifications can be sent. You can integrate with other things and you can get the values. You can configure your physical verification, you can configure the reconciliation. Everything can be done from the GUI itself. There are multiple other use cases what we can identify, like in terms of control, you can make approvals, you can have thresholds, which I said. Then you can have QR codes, digital reconciliation. All those features are there which can be utilized today to achieve the requirements which the teams require, but they are missing with all different solutions. Maybe integration, maybe some other configuration, ease of use, front end configuration. There are multiple things. So Shomik, I am through with the demo. We you can raise the another poll question what we have.
Sure. We'll take another poll question now. I see a lot of you have questions around the product out here, what the capabilities are. So at this point, let me just put up another poll. This basically to let us know if you would want to know more about the capabilities of Symphony AI Summit's asset lifecycle management solution. So we can reach out to you and then get you more curated answers which are more specific to your organizational needs. So this is something that we would want to have for our reference, so we know whether to reach out to you. Also, a couple of questions that I got out there, Sumit. I think you already addressed this during your presentation and also about the capabilities that your platform brings. But then I also want to know, a lot of these organizations, especially the large ones, they already have an ERP or a CRM system in place. How well does it integrate with the existing solutions? Can it talk to all of these applications? How do you bring all of that data on board?
Yeah, correct. Thank you. This is a very important question. So we have REST APIs using which we can configure and we can integrate the data, bring the data into the system easily. So we have done it for many different ERP solutions like your SAP or you can have any other solution. Major scenario what we face is SAP, wherein we can integrate the SAP has to, because in organizations the financial departments don't allow any other solution to write data into SAP. So we can do integration with SAP, wherein SAP can consume our REST APIs, and whenever an GRN entry on FAR entry is done in the system, they can push the data automatically into Summit. It will come in and then it will be part of we can allocate it, it will be part of our new discovery. From there, we can get it into the system, or auto allocation can also be configured. And the other way is, if they don't want to consume the REST APIs, then we have our proxy servers, wherein they can place their Excel output and we can consume it from there and then import it. So we have two different type of integrations for SAP, and the rest other ERP solutions can do it from in either of the ways as well.
Understood. We also have a question, from one of our viewers, whether they can view this webinar at a later point in time. Yes, of course, you can go to ETCIO website, that's cio.economictimes.com, and you'll be able to see this webinar on demand. Just give it about a week's time. By this time next week, you'll be able to view this on demand. At this point, let me also invite Piyush back on into the discussion. We've got a couple of more questions that we have. There were two, prominent questions, and both were dealing with end of life product. Is the solution capable of addressing that? Because I see a little bit of concern. If you could reiterate the product's capability.
Yeah. So end of life, end of support can be done. We have out-of-box integration available with Dell and Lenovo websites. We can just consume the REST APIs and bring the data for those into our system to identify the end of life, end of support. And for devices wherein you want other things, you can either manually import the data of end of life, end of support and configure the notifications. Otherwise, we have REST APIs.
All right. And this question is open to both of you. And this is also one of the questions that I had. We got a question from the audience member as well. Now, this is about scalability. How future ready is this particular application? Because you have companies which are looking at, scaling up, ramping up operations, maybe, even 5x maybe in the next, 2 to 3 years. Is the product capable of scaling up, keeping up with the demands of the organization? And tell us a little bit about that capability.
Sure. So I think the moot point behind scalability is that how are we architected, right? So we are servicing customers who manage, few lakhs of assets on the platform. While that's a testament of what's the size, scale, and magnitude the product can absorb. Also, the solution nowadays is being offered in SaaS model, right? Now, SaaS in itself, I don't need to define what SaaS brings on scalability, right? I think it's self-understanding. A lot of us that, and when our SaaS, our platform is powered by one of the top two, infrastructure provider of the world, right? So that's where we ride. So definitely, security and scalability is not a challenge. We are servicing customers who are also holding at least 1 million of asset put together, right? Possibly not all under the scanner, but we do target to capture 100% asset of such scale of enterprise as well.
All right, understood. Now, as a closing question, I just want your parting thoughts on how do you see asset lifecycle management fitting into the broader landscape of digital transformation that we are seeing within enterprises? How do you see the space maturing in the next couple of years? This question is open to both of you.
Yeah, maybe I'll give my opinion, then followed by Sumit. I would also like to hear Sumit on this. But my thought is that this is not now the aspirational. This is the moot point that every leader is solving. This is not on the edge. This is the central point that a lot of enterprise wants to. So it's the philosophy of keeping your books neat, right? If you can't keep your book and your house neat, rest assured, all your digital transformations cannot be catered, cannot be time bound in that fashion, right? So if you want all your initiatives to run time bound, adhering to the compliance, being accurate, you need your asset management solid inside the organization, right? And I think it takes a precedence over the other transformation in that scenario, right? Maybe Sumit, your point of view.
Yeah, thank you, Piyush. So adding on to what Piyush was saying, so to have control, to have compliance, to have visibility of where the asset is, tagging of assets, tracking of assets, optimization of your complete assets within the organization. Today, it is very important ask within the organization to have such a tool which can not only do the management of the assets, but complete life cycle, where the asset is, when it was brought, when it was serviced, what was the cost which you have spent on it, and when you are decomposing it. So to have a complete end-to-end solution, this is a very important requirement in today's world.
Understood. Well, that pretty much, winds up the discussion. That's pretty much all we had for you. I was, very pleased seeing the kind of questions that we had While, yes, it is a growing space, but then the kind of questions that we got, I think it does underline the fact that people in India, Indian organizations are looking at asset lifecycle management in a very serious manner, and we can see the space maturing in the next couple of years. So, well, that was Sumit Simpani and Piyush Parashar from Symphony Summit AI. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much, audience, for joining us today. It was a lovely session. Thanks again. Have a great day ahead.
Thanks.
Thank you,
everyone.
Shamik.
Thanks. Bye-bye.